How's it going, guys? Welcome to episode 55 of On Target Talks. Today, we're joined here by not Dan, but Pat, also better known as Kurtap. Actually didn't know your name was Pat for the probably 2 or 3 years I played initially, but...
Some people still don't know.
And then it probably took another year after I realized your name was Pat to figure out Kurtap was...
Just Patrick.
Patrick backwards, and I was like, wow, I'm an idiot. And then a few people have said that to you recently. I've gone...
What's up, Jesse? Right off the bat,
what's up,
Jesse's
Jesse?
watching.
So this
My
week,
girl.
we're kind of going to be doing a few random topics here and there, but the overall basis is going to be, especially since Pat is here, as you guys know, we like running recon, and we're going to be talking about some of the unorthodox tactics we do, or not necessarily we do, but are things to do that might not be obvious to the conventional player, and using tools to aid you and things like that. So it's kind of hard to explain, but when we start chatting about it, you'll see what I mean. But before we get into that, of course, we have the announcements, and I'm going to let James here take those away.
All right, so this is a special week here at Extreme. Please excuse my voice. It's got this.
He sucked
fun,
a lot of dicks.
Yes, I sucked a lot of dicks. Wow, right off the bat, Des. All right. No, but Jesse and I have had this throat thing going on. It's really rad. You know,
That sounds worse than what I said.
I suck her dick, and my throat gets all messed up. She sucks mine. It's a whole thing. Anyways, don't mind it.
Jesse's watching.
I'm trying my best. Yeah, she's probably not gonna watch in 3 seconds. She's probably gonna be like, all right.
Do you like My Little Pony?
My Little Pony? Yeah, I
Are
love
you
that
running
shit.
because you're a little horse?
You little horse. It's pretty good. But yeah. So this is a very special week. This is obviously President's Day week, which is which most of the United States has or schools and stuff like that have off this week. Definitely not as college kids. We get that in a few more weeks. And for you,
I enjoyed the nice federal
for you
holiday.
nerds,
I got it.
You guys, you guys just have to work all the time. But if you're still in high school, you can come and play Airsoft, or if you're in middle school or elementary school, you can play Nerf. So all throughout the week, we have Airsoft gaming at noon to 7. But before that, we also have Nerf gaming from 9 to noon.
Did you actually do the calendar right for once?
What? You should be able to...
Right. We actually put the right times in?
Oh, yeah. No, those times are right.
9 to 12?
Yeah, Jesse's ripping on me because this morning...
Nope, you still did it wrong.
Still
Literally,
wrong?
you did it
sucks.
wrong again.
Oh, well.
You're such a
Deal
moron.
with that, I guess. But yeah. So it's funny because Jesse pointed out this morning I was all like, "Oh wow, my voice feels great," but as the day has progressed, it's definitely deteriorated. But anyway, so yeah, we have Nerf gaming in the morning from 9 to 12, and then Airsoft gaming from 11 to 7, and then there will be no Nerf night this week since there's Nerf mornings all week. But next week we resume our regular Nerf nights, really, that's it for the most immediate dates. Then, of course, upcoming a little bit later in April, that's going to be April 8th is the Expo.
James, how would I know that? It doesn't say it on the calendar.
Yeah, I'm looking at that now. It's quite disappointing. But,
Man, I wish we had somebody whose job it was to update the calendar.
Yeah, good thing it's not mine. Just saying. Anyways, so if you go to the events tab at the top of the top of our page,
Oh, there it is.
there's a drop-down menu. So there is D-Day at Extreme. We do have to set that off and get next to it for our next one. And then there's also the 2018 Airsoft Expo. It's no longer the NESAG or NEAS Expo, however you called it. It's just the Expo. Yeah, it's now the 2018 Northeast Airsoft Expo. You can register for that if you want to exhibit or sell your stuff. Like if you're a team and you want to sell patches, stuff like that. But other than that, it's free to walk on.
And booth spaces are limited, so if you want a booth, we really suggest pre-registering.
We actually have more space than last year.
We did run out last year, though.
I think we had like 3 open spaces. But yeah, it was... We didn't run out, we had 3 open spaces.
They weren't ideal, though.
Yeah, they were in like the very back corner.
Yeah, they kind of sucked.
But yeah, no, so we have a much better, more open space this year.
Maybe I'll just get my own booth for me as a person.
Just do it.
Like,
Yeah,
just to self-promote.
Just sit in like a lawn chair and just be like, I'm Kurtap.
I'm thinking like bathrobe and like slippers and just like yell at people to get away from my booth.
I paid for this.
It's reverse psychology. It'll make you want to see what's going on.
It's true. You're not wrong. I wish you were wrong, but you're not.
Yeah. Now I wish I could do that. But yeah,
You
so
have an
that's
entire
it
store
for
as a booth, James.
what?
You have your entire store as a booth.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so that's it for the upcoming events and such. Should be a good time.
Cool. How was adult night this weekend?
I'm very
It was
curious.
very good, very good. I think we had like close to 40 players again, even with the snow.
Really? So you're saying in March we should probably do 2 of them, right?
Honestly, I'd rather just keep it as one. That way we have the most players. Like, you know, it's a good crowd for what you get. It's not like overcrowded on the field, but it's not so unpopulated that it's like, all right, where's this
I
one
think
other
we
guy
have
on the
players that will
field?
come every other week.
I honestly, I like it as it is right now. I think that's
Right.
pretty good.
Like
And
2
also,
weekends with 30 players as opposed to one.
Right.
weekend with
That's what I'm
40
saying.
players.
I think we should do an extra one.
yeah. Let me ask the refs if they want to stay until 1 in the morning 2 times a month. So let's see if we can find staff.
There's a lot of people that work jobs that do that.
If you're upset and
Alright,
been disappointed by life at this point,
And the
it's
good thing
pretty
we're hot-
good to wear them into it early.
And
you
good
know?
thing
Yeah,
we're-
oh yeah.
Well,
that's
James,
a
we
fair
also have a
deal.
bunch of new refs. It's just part of the job.
You can trick
Yeah.
them.
You could what?
You can trick them.
Trick them.
Like, yeah, everybody does this.
I mean, yeah, everyone does do it, but like,
I mean, every bartender works until probably 2 or 3.
Turns out.
yeah, but
that-
they're making tips and a lot more money, and they get to serve drinks and definitely not drink.
I don't
on
think they
the
go, oh yes, I get to serve drinks today. My life's passion.
If any of the memes that I see posted on Facebook from all my friends who are waitresses and waiters are true, it's just constant complaint all the
Yeah,
time.
exactly.
Like, if you don't tip 30%, then you're Satan.
clock. You're Satan. I've
Um,
actually never been a waiter, so I don't know that. I've worked at well, I mean, I delivered pizzas, so I kind of get that. You know, it's you don't.
and you always left by at least 9 p.m., right?
What do you mean by?
Well, you're saying staying late is the end of the
I know,
world.
I would leave by like about 11 or so. That's when I would leave as a driver because I didn't have to clean up afterwards. I just had to
Oh,
see
nice.
out and then leave. It was nice. Well, I didn't have to clean all the dishes, but after that, like if my tasks were done, I got to hop out.
Not
It
bad.
was a pretty good gig. I liked it. I would make like $20 an hour delivering pizzas actually because I was so fast, and I would memorize like which houses like had the best tips. And so I'd wait 5 minutes for another delivery to come out that was right down the road. I'll come back in like 10 minutes and I'll have $30 worth of tips. So it's
So what are you doing working here? It sounds like that was your calling.
it's a lot better to put general manager on a resume than it is pizza delivery driver.
Believe it or
So
not.
yeah, I know.
General manager of delivering pizza.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, on my resume, I do put lead like delivery driver for my pizza job. It's pretty great.
Eventually, this isn't even going to be on your resume. I wouldn't even put it on there now.
Yeah,
But yeah, like I said, we should do 2 a month.
we'll see. I'll pitch it.
I
Pitch
think
to the
there's
bosses.
enough of a demand for it. But either way, moving on. Yeah, I think that's about it for announcements at the moment. So, oh yeah, you know it's funny. If you came in Sunday, you noticed that D-Day came to the store 1 week late. We had a beach
Oh,
right
yes.
in the store.
Yeah, it was lit.
It was raining, everything.
Yeah, there was a shore. There were water features, dynamic water. Like you'd have water in one area, and then it would kind of slow down, and then it would fall from the other
Yep,
areas,
yep.
and just
You know, we did dynamic sounds, dynamic lighting. Now we have dynamic weather. Really, just adding to the experience.
It's a real 3D environment.
Yes.
it really was. Especially when you only have so many buckets, so you have to be right on top of putting the buckets under there. It's
Like, you
like
actually have to sacrifice a section of the store. Like, I can't save this one.
Yeah.
You know,
That
that's
was
how easy it is to decide.
That was
who
actually
gets what.
happening. In other news, we're getting a new roof.
yeah. Sadly, that was already in the works. They just delayed it long enough.
But it was an interesting Sunday nonetheless.
Yeah.
That was pleasant.
That was well brought up. Too bad you weren't.
Ooh,
Ooh.
Oh.
that's a good one. I like that. I'll
Alright.
bring that up.
But let's finally move
Said
on.
no girl ever.
You never know. Jesse thinks I'm pretty funny, right, Jesse?
It's always important to have that one person.
Yeah.
Maybe I should just get off this podcast in case she gets a little tasty, you know? Like,
Yeah.
Just that tall, lanky white kid.
Yeah.
Yes.
He seems really
I'm
cool
also
with
a
it.
tall, lanky white kid.
Maybe she's into not as tall white kids.
Okay, you know what? Okay, complete divergence for a moment. You know what's odd? At my job,
The
first
numbers
place.
1, 3, 5,
Oh, shut up.
7, 9,
So-
11. Actually, 11's a prime number too. Fun fact. 13.
Okay, if we had people watching, we'd definitely know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
No, at my job, it's the weirdest thing. I feel like the short person. I don't know why. Statistically, it shouldn't make sense. I'd say at least half the guys that work there are taller than me, and I'm
Really?
6'2". It's weird.
Damn. I guess I'm never gonna get a job there.
I've never been somewhere where I feel like I'm the short one. It's odd.
It is,
But
Jesse also noted she's not watching because she's interested. She's watching because she has a test to study for.
Oh, so she's procrastinating.
Yes.
I'm glad we can be so enthralling.
Yeah.
But like I said, let's finally get to the topic here. So like you're saying, we do a lot of, when we play recon or just play in general sometimes we do tactics that are sneaky, hence the title, outside the orthodox gameplay. But A, they can be a lot of fun, not gonna lie. And B, they can give you some advantages that you wouldn't really expect otherwise. So, I mean, I know you've mentioned a few, James, in the past. Do you want to kick this off?
Yeah. I mean, don't shoot at the enemy the second that you see him. That should be like rule number one.
That's orthodox.
Sometimes you might not have to shoot at the enemy at all.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. But you'd be surprised how often, airsofters will see someone and they just start laying on them with the trigger.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing in the whole world. It's just like, you're a moron.
I mean, I've definitely done the thing where someone's shooting at me and I just stick my head out, I watch their pellets dropping 100 feet short, and I just walk away and I'm like, have fun.
Yeah, I choose not to enter this engagement.
Yeah, there's...
You have that stressed face, Pat. Like, you've seen that so many times that it's bringing up PTSD-like memories.
Yeah, especially back when I was commander of militia, a while ago, you would have large movements of players moving to a location, and a squad from the other team would pop up and take a couple of shots, and then we're talking multiple platoons would stop and focus on that
dozens
person.
and dozens of players.
Dozens and dozens, yeah, and they would stop and put all of their attention on these losers over here that are not even in range or doing effective things.
Right.
And so then you'd have to just yell at them to keep going. Don't worry about that. You'll get past it. Go to where you're going. But no, it ends up slowing down the entire maneuver. People get to where they're going late. There's a lot to be gained by knowing when not to fire.
It's funny how just the sound of a gun can
it is amazing
slow
how
people down
sometimes-
so much.
Yeah, it's even if it's not shooting at you.
Right.
Especially, I've encountered players who their natural reaction to hearing fire is to just start shooting, even if their gun's not pointed anywhere. And it's
There's something to be said for that to a point, but not
like a react to contact type of thing.
right to a point.
Exactly, but if you're not in the role that requires an immediate reaction to contact,
Right.
if you have the time to assess the threat and does this need my attention or can I keep doing what I'm doing?
Right. Well, a perfect example, if you're in a defensive position.
What's up, Jake?
So
That
so
was very
if you're in a
my voice.
right, if you're in a defensive position and you're hidden, and one of your guys gets engaged and pretty much has it handled, revealing your entire team's position to try
Could
and
be very detrimental.
get one dude,
Right.
it's not practical.
Right. Especially if, say for example, your one teammate is engaged with one person and that one person's other teammates start to maneuver around.
Right, let it happen.
And then they just end up standing right in front of
yes,
you.
I've seen that so many times.
It's good. As long as you don't put all your cards out there right away, then you can still have the element of surprise even if one of your guys has been made.
Right. And I guess that a lot of what we're going to talk about today kind of boils down to we're basically, assuming all skill levels are equal, find that thing that gives you an advantage. That's how you'll win the gunfight. Having the polar star, having the 2 foot of elevation difference, having the best camouflage really aren't realistic advantages in airsoft, not one that's going to give you the gunfight win. It's
Or-
finding those.
Yeah, or like say you're 12 and you have a voice like a little flute. Maybe you can get really good at hand signals because nobody wants to hear that.
But yeah, it's finding the elements around you that are less obvious that give you that tactical advantage.
Right, exactly.
And that goes, we'll hit more on this later, but lighting is a huge one, especially when you're talking about dusk and dark environments. Honestly, more so dusk. I find playing at dusk is, in some ways, it's more fun, but it's harder than playing in the pitch black.
Well, especially if one side of the field has the sun to their back
Yes,
and the other one has it in
exactly.
their face, then like just that advantage alone, like
It's
if
huge.
you're moving towards an enemy that has the sun to their back, like they can see you coming from a mile away and you can't
You just see
20
shadows,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
No, and you'll notice that, James, that you've seen me do it on Just a Spring Offensive. We'll go to set up like an ambush or something like that, and I'll be like, nope, I'm moving position because I'll have sun to my front, and I'll be like, second I start shooting, I'm seen, and they can get cover. I always try and position myself so that the sun is, if not directly behind me, close to it. It changes the engagement 100%.
Exactly.
Were you there for that event where someone was just like walking straight towards me as I was standing in the brush?
I don't think so.
Oh no, yeah, this was I think this was the start of Spring Offensive last year. Sun was at my back, and I was literally just like kneeling in some tall grass. And a dude was 30 feet away from me, just nonchalantly walking right at me, until I actually just shot him, and I'm like, was I actually not seen? I'm confused.
That might have less to do with your sneakiness
And more to do with
his aloofness.
Yeah, well, it was not just him; it was a bunch of guys. But either way, I think it's also just not actually my sneakiness, just the lighting at that time of the day was highly beneficial to me.
I mean, I'd be lying if I said that I hadn't been just like bumblefucking down the trail
Oh, yeah,
at
yeah.
one point. And then
And
all of a
so-
sudden I'm like, hey, is that a barrel? And then you kind of work backwards
Oh,
from
yeah.
the barrel and there's a dude with it pointed
Yep.
right at you. You're
Yep.
like, oh. And you just give him a wave. You're like, all right, I'm out of here.
Yep,
You,
yep.
you got me.
Yep, definitely been there. That's, God, there's some funny moments
Just
like
my
that.
stupid brain like, it's a barrel just there. Oh, wait, there's a player attached.
It's that's the one thing about the guns. They have so many straight lines on them. They, I mean, you know what I do to my gun, to that
Right,
whole
just breaking up
the
shapes.
ghillie wrap, just to break up the shape, makes a big
That's
difference.
kind of another thing that we can tie into the sneakiness.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know?
Is break up your
Ghillie suits.
Fucking hate ghillie suits.
Ghillie suits are very counterintuitive sometimes, especially if... So, ghillie suits are made for people who are holding still for hours and hours at a time, who are putting real holes in real people.
Right. From distances.
From very long distances away, who will pee their pants before they move.
Right.
And that's the least of it. But in Airsoft, we're not working on the timelines that would have, like if somebody's camping for such a long time that they would need a ghillie suit. Like, everybody has like ghillie tops and stuff like that they can use and toss on and everything, but very rarely will somebody actually employ a ghillie suit
Well.
to be useful.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or they won't like match it to the terrain. And
Right.
it'll just be, green burlap on a autumn field
yeah.
where it's like dead leaves and stuff like that. And it just adds to your mass so that when you actually do move, it's just this big shape moving
So-
through the woods.
And not only that is, even if ghillie suits did work the way they should in Airsoft, which they don't. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm all for like the netted, like shoulder cap things to break up your shape. Totally love those. Jake Blyer had one this last event that was actually really, really good. But the issue I have with ghillies is I'm sure you've run into this, 95% of the time, when someone gets hit by a pellet wearing a ghillie, they just don't know. And you'll just be swapping someone with a ghillie and they're like, I'm hidden, I'm not getting hit. And it's like thwank, 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 thwank,
One,
thwank, thwank.
they might not feel it.
No, like you said, it's not that they're not calling it.
Right.
It's they genuinely don't know half the time.
One, they might not feel it. Two, they might not think that you can see them, so they might not call it because they think you
they're-
don't know where they are.
Yeah, it's the riot shield.
It's kind of
effect.
like the opposite of somebody getting hit by one sniper round and just
Yeah.
thinking, oh, well, I don't
Right.
see anybody, so it didn't happen.
Right.
But I'm not saying that people who wear ghillie suits do that. I'm saying that some
It's a
people who wear
possibility.
ghillie suits
Yes.
might do that.
I call it like the riot shield effect. Like when riot shields used to be popular in Airsoft, you'll wreck someone's legs and they'll be like, no, I'm invincible. I'm wearing a riot shield.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We've had that happen, and hence why if you've ever been to Extreme, you know riot shields are banned here because
Yeah, I had every time someone tries to walk in with a riot shield, I have a very easy explanation for that.
it's part of your gear.
Well, no, what I say is riot shields cause more issues than they produce fun, so I ask you to leave it in the car.
I usually say, someone says, "Can I use a riot shield?" I go, "Yeah, you're welcome to use it. It's part of your gear, and gear hits count."
But you're right, you're getting it. But anyways, ghillie suits also. Here's like a personal anecdote. When I was commanding militia, I had a recon team that used ghillie suits. The COFOR team had a recon team that used ghillie suits.
And you have no idea.
And it's not like they have tan ghillie suits and green ghillie suits.
It's a
they
tan
just
and
have ghillie suits.
Yeah.
I actually got into an argument with my own recon team because I shot him, and he was like, "Well, I got shot by my own teammate," and I said, "Well, that's tough. I mean, I saw you sneaking. I didn't know what team you were on, and I wasn't just going to let that pass." You know? So,
yeah, and the number of times I've spent minutes looking at someone in a ghillie going, "Is he aiming at me, or is he aiming over there?" And I'm just sitting there staring at him in my scope like, do I shoot this guy? Is he going to get all pissy because he's on my team? Mm-hmm. And there's been times where I'm like, no. He's aiming that direction. He must be on the other team. And then I see someone else get hit by him. I'm like, damn it.
That's on your head.
Yeah, exactly.
Saved a life.
Right, exactly. And I'm just like, I hate ghillies. If I were making the rule books, I would ban ghillies. I'm not going to lie.
I wouldn't go that far.
I would.
Listen, when they first made the rules for Airsoft, they didn't imagine that we would have such great camouflage. You know? Nobody could have accounted for it.
It took me a minute to see where you were going with that. But
nobody needs a ghillie suit. You get what I'm getting here?
Yeah, I got you.
Chris Fisher, he said, "Oh no, not this guy." I think he was referring to you.
I don't know. He could be referring to like the cock-throated, you know.
Probably.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If it's any consolation, if you didn't say anything, you still sound like you normally sound.
Right.
Oh, that's good. Because I think I sound like death.
No,
today,
you sound totally normal, which is funny.
Really?
Why we spend so much time talking about it.
You're just hearing the sound in your brain box.
I guess so. I guess there's something going on there.
But what was I saying? Yeah, either way, I haven't seen a ghillie cause more benefit than frustration in a game.
We'll put it this way. I've seen players playing with bright white blazer jackets, like
accomplish more than someone in a ghillie. Yeah.
Sneakiness or camouflage, in addition to just breaking up your shape and stuff like that, is also more attitude than it is.
Well, that's like what I was getting at. Is that camouflage is such a limited amount of building your advantage. Mm-hmm. Is tactics build your advantage more than what you're wearing or what you're using.
Right.
That's why someone can go out there with a combat machine raider and wreck people with polar stars, as long as they use the tactics.
Don't tell that to the polar star people.
Now, like I said, the only reason I got a polar star personally is, you know me, I like hitting.
They're quiet as hell.
Well, they're quiet. That is the one thing polar stars have, is the silence. Mm-hmm. And also I can hit targets at 350 feet. You just can't do that.
They have just the different ballistic.
What's good, APOC?
Yeah.
How you doing?
What's up? So I did it for the extreme performance. Mm-hmm. But I would say the advantage they give you as a regular rifleman is a little more limited.
Yeah, unless you're into speed triggers and shooting through glass.
By the way, you smell like goat cheese.
Who said that?
Take a guess.
Cobalt? No.
Yeah, that sounds like me.
Yeah, I know.
That doesn't even bother me.
Sounds like there's thunder in here. But back to what we were saying about breaking up shapes. Mm-hmm. So what we do, counter to the whole ghillie argument, I think we can all agree, just a little like throwovers that go to like maybe mid back and they just break up that head and shoulder shape,
or like the loose netting.
I think those are fantastic.
They're great.
Yeah.
And they don't I use the net wrap myself. Like it's it's the size of a shemagh, but it's a very coarse net, and when that drapes over you, that just kind of breaks out the outline of your head. What?
Yeah.
No, this one was directed towards me. Apparently, I look 12 compared to you guys with beards.
Yeah, isn't that a problem?
Oh, I should have worn
Yeah.
one.
You should grow one.
I tried for like 13 days.
Yeah, no. He goes, I've read it takes, at least 4 weeks to grow a beard, so I'm going to give it that much of a chance. A week and a half later, guys, I had to give up.
No, it's because I just genuinely don't grow hair in many spots of my face.
Does your beard come in perfection, or do you clean it up as you grow it?
Well, my beard doesn't really get any longer than, like, say yours, for example. Like,
Right.
It gets to that length and it's...
Right, exactly.
And so I just keep it like
Right,
this to keep
just-
it more uniform.
Right, my point is it doesn't come in.
But it doesn't
perfect.
come in splotchy or anything. It all grows in at the same.
Oh, see, mine has little splotches, but I just grow it in to the point where they disappear. That's all you had to do, dude.
No, it doesn't work.
Weak.
All right,
You wouldn't have even made it through No Shave November as 13
No,
days.
I'll do No Shave November this year.
You said you were going to
Manscaping counts.
What?
What?
What accounts?
Manscaping.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, sorry.
Man.
No, so
If you wax instead of shave, though, I don't think that counts.
What about Nair?
Nair. Ooh, that's.
so okay, let's.
I'm not saying I use it, I'm just
You know,
for the sake of
That's
argument.
chemical burns, right?
Yeah.
It says right on the bottle. Not that I know that.
So let's move back to topic here.
Breaking up shapes.
Yes, breaking up shape. So, little thing you can do. So if you have a long gun, you see me do this on every gun I've owned. I personally like to do some just like light random yarn wrap. Some people do like a mock leaf wrap or something.
Or
Just
like the cloth duct tape around.
right. Just something around that long straight barrel. Because like as you're mentioning earlier,
Straight lines don't happen in nature.
straight lines don't happen in nature. There's a number of times you look at bush, you don't see the people. People are camouflaged usually pretty well because especially someone sitting like this, it's random shapes. Someone who knows what they're doing
Well-
can camouflage their shape pretty well.
Yeah,
But-
sure, unless they're like head to toe in multicam and they're your typical airsofter who's like 3 people wide.
Yeah.
That doesn't do you any good.
But
we can see you.
the black guns sticking out with perfectly straight lines,
Yeah.
especially AR profiles, just
A rifle is just something that obviously it doesn't happen in nature, but black doesn't happen naturally in nature.
Right.
And straight lines don't happen naturally in nature.
so you have a big cluster of that.
Right,
They
so-
just pop out.
paint your gun, wrap it with cloth or something like that, just to kind of, just so it doesn't catch the
Yeah,
eye as easily.
exactly, and that makes huge differences. Again, when are you gonna paint your PTW?
Nah, bro. Nah, I'm all
I
set.
know, I know, but you
Might
should.
try to plasti dip it.
What?
You can peel it off.
What?
If you
Have you tried plasti dipping a
Yes,
gun?
no, not a gun, but I have tried plastic. It's too thick to like.
yeah, with you holding it all the time, it would just wear right off. You need like hydro dipping it would be the way to go.
I don't know. I'd rather just keep
You
that
should
resale
straight, you should
value.
do straight
you're
an
gonna-
American
if you're gonna
flag
plastic
hydro
dip your
dip on the
gun-
receiver.
If you're gonna plastic dip your gun, can you just do obnoxious colors though? Like
Pink and orange and shit.
fluorescent green and purple. And
Yeah, I can make that happen.
They make wrap kits for ARs, right? Like how you can buy a wrap for your car.
Yeah.
No.
like a shrink wrap.
No, like totally different.
Bring that up, Jamie.
Where's my mouse? I turned it off.
It's in your hand.
Where's my point?
No, but I'm saying it's those like the tape wrap. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I literally you've asked that 3 different ways, and I've said no, the same way every time.
You sure?
I'm going to murder you.
Just asking for
Like,
clarification
vinyl
here.
wrap?
Yeah, but it's pre-cut all to the right sizes. So
Okay.
it sticks onto the. I'm trying to find. Oh, here we go. So here, I'll throw this up on the TV. So James, it comes. Actually, let me make sure chat can see it. It comes in a kit like this. Look at the TV, James.
I can see it on your screen.
Okay, fine.
Much easier.
It comes in a kit like this,
So it's like stickers for your AR.
just like vinyl wrap for a car. And these are all the different things you can get for it. I might do one of these.
Can
for
you
the PR.
customize your own images? So you can put
Yeah, you can have custom ones
you
printed.
could just get spicy memes printed onto
I
your
was
gun.
about to say, yeah.
Just kidding, because I hate memes and airsoft.
But
You mean when people showed up with those Kekistan 4chan,
don't even.
those 4chan flags?
I don't want to call anybody out specifically, but leave your memes on the internet.
James, a real tree wrap for your gun,
Yeah, that'd be neat.
right?
Real tree's gay.
ATAX.
Real tree is
Apex is gay.
real tree is
ATAX
not
is
bad.
not gay. ATAX FG for my gun. Come on, that would look pretty cool.
That looks gay.
No, it doesn't. You know it.
Okay, yeah, no, that looks pretty effective as a camouflage for a gun. As far as like faction identification though goes,
Oh, it sucks.
it's gay.
I might do that. I might buy a
Have you ever lost your gun on the ground at your feet when you put it down for a second?
No.
No, I really don't want to have that issue either.
Or, like, I know that sometimes...
Hey, look, there it is. Lost camo.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I've leaned my gun up against a tree once or twice to do something and walked away real quick. Or, like, if I put my gun down to go with a pistol to do something real sneaky, and then I go back to look for it later, I cannot find it.
Cryptek. Mantry.
Gross. It looks like Slee Stack from Lands of the Lost.
Or James, I have the one for you right there.
Hey, I like that.
Wait,
That's
what was
cute.
that one before that? Was that a Jackson Pollock? Yeah, it looks like Jackson Pollock.
Hot leaf camo.
You know, I'm not gonna
I
lie.
feel like that would be very good in Japan.
I'm not gonna lie. I might buy one of these kits for the PR.
That'd be funny. Do it.
The only thing is like it wouldn't be quite wide enough because these are for real ARs.
Whatever.
So like, because real, airsoft's slightly wider than a real gun.
Is that true?
Yeah, that's why AEG mags don't fit in gas blowback rifles.
Oh.
Because that's the whole difficulty with detonating a gun. You have to mill out the mag well to fit AEG mags. Because I needed to make it wider to fit the motor, and that's why real steel grips don't work because they're too narrow, and that's why a real steel grip feels so much more comfortable than an airsoft grip because it's the right width.
But that's why PTW grips feel so much better because the motors are thin, so you can use real steel grips.
In all seriousness, though, I do love websites that do this. They're like, you have notifications, even though it's the first time I've ever been to the website.
You have notifications. We noticed that you have ad blocker on. Can you undo that so we can inundate you with cookies? You like cookies,
Right.
don't you?
Oh, you want to hear something funny? Totally unrelated story, but this is funny.
Is it related to cookies?
It's related to streaming, so
Aw.
it relates in a way. So apparently,
Japan and I are both very upset now.
I have all the time for cookies.
so apparently, the Olympics are going on, right?
Sure.
So
Yeah,
apparently,
I've heard
it was like CBC, some network was streaming the Olympics, and they would run an ad, like it's a through internet browser stream, and they'd run an ad, and the casters would think no one could hear them. And so they just start talking shit. They'd be like, oh, they're sending up any girls to the hotel tonight, shit like that. They didn't realize anyone running ad block
Wouldn't be
the stream would just kept going.
Get any floozies tonight? That's fantastic. Is there any proof of this?
it's
They
exactly
super
like-
copyright
So
the
it's
stream.
exactly
so.
like Anchorman with I don't believe you.
Yeah.
Oh god. So
That is
that's funny.
fantastic.
You're fired.
I didn't witness it
You are
myself, which
fired.
is a little disappointing, but there's a lot of talk on it, but apparently anyone who uploads a video gets copywritten stuff immediately, so
That's funny.
but it's great. But back to topic. So breaking up your shape is obviously a big one. Do we want to go into more light tactics, especially around dust play and stuff like that?
Light tactics like light discipline? Or...
Well, everything light related, really. So yeah, light discipline's obviously a huge one, something we've hit on a few times here. But using both natural and artificial light to your advantage. Like if you're the guy in the back of the squad, don't turn your light on
Yeah.
and highlight your entire team.
That's light discipline, and that should be common sense, but it's not.
Right.
How do you get an entire squad killed? Just let the enemy know where they are.
Well, one of my biggest ones too, speaking of light discipline, two biggest ones, is when someone's walking back, you're walking back to spawn, and you're like, well, I want to see where I'm going, so I'm going to turn my light on. There's someone in front of me. Let me shine my light right at them to see who it is. Oh, cool. The squad that's coming back from spawn, who's spent the last 20 minutes letting their natural night vision progress, you've just burned all their retinas, and now it takes another 20 minutes for...
Yeah, that sounds like we're getting into airsoft pet peeves, though.
Oh, it is, but my point is just don't do that. But for real, though,
You know what? We should have done a podcast on that. Things that bother us about airsoft.
Seriously.
It'd be a 10-part series.
Yeah, right. Top 10. That'll be our top 10.
Maybe we
top
can
10
have
pet
that.
peeves.
We can have that as a closing topic
Yeah, right.
at the end of this.
Might
once
work.
we exhaust all our
Yeah.
secrets. But as far as using like,
well, one more thing I want to add real quick first is, and I've lost it, so go ahead.
like using natural and artificial light. Like if you are in the woods patrolling to a location or stalking or anything like that, most people they'll be focused on where they're going and try to walk in a straight line and not necessarily pay attention to shadows cast by trees or foliage or anything like that. So they'll end up walking directly through a sunbeam. So your direct path might be across a clearing that has like sun's shining directly on it, or you could take a couple extra minutes and go around it and end up linearly exactly where you were going, but it just takes longer, but you didn't hit the sunshine.
Right.
Yeah, just staying in shadows and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
it's huge.
Yeah, exactly. So, because it's amazing how much shadows play a part in it.
It's game
Yeah,
changing.
even at night, like especially under night vision, like when I first got my Gen 3s, I didn't realize that there were shadows at night, you know, that I wouldn't have normally noticed with my naked eye, but now that's like crazy, you know, even in the middle of a path.
Oh,
there
you can always tell the new players with night vision goggles through night vision goggles. Because
Yeah.
they're standing bolt upright, with
Yeah.
just walking around like they're God. And, you know, sometimes it's just best to sit and wait for people.
Yeah.
Like, camping is a
Well,
real
so-
loser thing to do, but sometimes you just gotta do it.
There's times,
Sometimes
yeah.
it's just the best.
Well, like, you know, if you're in a trail and you hear people coming, you know, just fucking hide and wait for them to
Stop
come.
moving.
Stop moving, hold position, and if you have the noise advantage in that you heard them before they heard you, execute that advantage to your fullest extent, which leads my next point is so many times I see in the woods, two squads come face to face. They don't know if they're enemy or foe on the other side. And usually within a minute, someone turns on a flashlight to try and figure it out. And now you've not only given your position away, but probably a few squad mates' positions away. I would say don't be the guy that turns on the flashlight. At that point, you might not have knowledge, but neither does the other squad, who might be an enemy squad. Again, consider their lack of knowledge an advantage of your own. The second you turn on that flashlight, you have given them operational knowledge that you don't have.
Right.
You have given them the advantage.
It's essentially like yelling out to them, like, "Hey, are you green or tan?
Right. Honestly,
By the way, I'm tan." You
right.
know,
So
like,
I would say yelling out is better than turning a light on.
yeah,
Because a light is, he's right there.
Right.
Yelling, at least at a minimum, is like, okay, he's there.
especially if you've you know, taken ventriloquist classes, you can throw your voice.
Yeah,
That would
right.
be really cool.
Well, something I like doing is if I think the squad's in front of me, I'll yell that direction.
Yeah, so that they think
They don't get the focused voice.
Mhm.
There's enough echoes and noise dispersion by talking in the other direction or yelling in the other direction that they'll get a general direction. They won't get the he's right there. I remember that, you know, perfect example, there was one point that I was pinned down by a saw gunner who had night vision, and I'm just behind like a little mound of dirt. I'd stick my head up a little bit and hear it go and bounce off the mound of dirt, and I'd be like, okay. I'd do it again, he'd shoot some more. I'd do it again, he'd shoot some more. I'd be like, all right, I think he's like right about there. I went and came back down, and I hear, yeah. And I'm like, he made the mistake. He shot multiple times from the same location at night.
See, if you play PUBG, you learn that mistake real fast. Like,
Yeah.
if you shoot from the same spot more than 2 peaks, like, for more than
Oh, yeah.
about 30 seconds, you're dead.
Oh yeah.
You're
No,
straight
but
dead.
that's the thing is at night, again, a little more unorthodox here, is at night, you might think you have the best spot in the world, but everyone's ability to hear has gone up tenfold, you know?
as long as they're still on the field playing, most people just give
Yeah.
up.
It's been a little better these last few games, I'll be honest. But, it used to be like at FGF, there was like 6 people playing at night.
Yeah, and nobody had night vision, but
Yeah.
now everybody's got night
Right.
vision. Nobody
And
has
everyone
night
wants to
vision.
justify their $3,000 of night vision. Right, James?
I spent $1,800
Yeah,
on
it's
my
actually,
unit.
as far as night vision goes, it's about the least expensive it's ever been.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially with things like white phosphorus.
Yeah, there's new
coming
stuff
out.
coming out. And,
You know, it's stuff that's decreasing the market value of the older Gen 3 that's been out there.
Right.
So like now more people are playing with Gen 3 and everything, which is cool. But if you don't spend a lot of time practicing with it, then it's practically useless to
yes,
you.
exactly.
I mean, I won't even say that I use night vision effectively in Airsoft, but it is pretty cool.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
It's fun.
But, yeah.
But returning to what I was saying real quick is just, even if you have night vision, you think you're in that perfect spot, don't keep shooting from the same spot more than like 3 or 4 bursts of fire. They will find that zero in on your location so damn fast from sound alone. James is actually a really good example of someone who does this well. Is you fire a couple shots, move. Fire a couple shots, move.
Oh
Fire a
yeah,
couple shots, move.
I'll never pull the trigger more than 5 times in one spot.
Right.
Well, that's 2 out of the 3 things: shoot, move, and communicate.
Right,
If you're
exactly.
not doing any of those, you're doing like if you're not shooting, you're moving. If you're not moving, you're communicating. If you're not communicating, you're shooting.
Exactly.
You know, you have to be doing one of those at all
Right.
times.
Exactly. Even during the daylight, don't stick to one position.
Yeah, exactly.
You just give an opportunity for the other team to flank you.
That's kind of how I am at work, though. Is like if you do nothing for long enough in one spot, you're going to get caught doing nothing. So you have to do a little bit of nothing in several different places
true.
so that your boss doesn't catch you. It's the same thing with Airsoft,
Right,
except
right.
the other team is your boss, and you know.
Right? Is there anything good in the
Check it
chat
out, mate.
to talk about?
No, I mean like we got Chris Fisher saying Pat brings NMMG light everywhere.
Oh yeah, that's true. My Surefire Hellfighter.
Love it.
It's excessive.
Oh yeah.
other than
It's
that,
not really good on foot though. That's the thing. It's cumbersome. I
Right.
have to work it down.
It's fair. What was I gonna say? So I think what do you keep referring to it? Force of action or force
Violence of
force,
action.
yeah, violence of action is. I think that's another not well used advantage that people can implement. And again, like I said at the beginning of the stream, this is about building your advantage through small things. And you know, if you want to equate it to money, it's 10 cents here, 20 cents there, and eventually you got your $50 advantage. Same thing, is it's just employing all these small things that builds both your personal and squad level advantage over the enemy you're engaging. And I know you're big in, me and you can both agree pretty heavily on the whole violence of action approach. Sometimes
For anybody not familiar, when we say violence of action,
I was
it's
gonna say,
actually
yeah.
another part of a triangle called speed, surprise, and violence of action. So you've got shoot, move, communicate, and then you also have speed, surprise, and violence of action. So anyways, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, so yeah, there's times that when you've exhausted, say, you're setting for an ambush or you're engaging an enemy, you've exhausted those advantages you started with. You've maybe lost your surprise advantage.
So now you have to go fast.
Right, you've lost your geography advantage. They might have the hill, they might have the better cover, they might have the better light. You've exhausted your advantages to the point where now it is a true gunfight.
You have to slug it out.
Right, is I see so many gunfights that go on for like literally 20, 30, 40 minutes in Airsoft. You're engaging somebody that's less than 150 feet away. Gunfights, in my opinion, if played right, should be done in less than 5 minutes. 5 minutes should be the longest a gunfight is. Otherwise, you're just wasting time, you're wasting ammo, you're not accomplishing your goals. And it's one of those, either win the gunfight, take your objective,
Or get out.
or lose the gunfight and come back to fight again
Yeah.
and try and win it again. If you're there for 40 minutes, you have accomplished no objectives, no point scoring, nothing.
You as an asset have been tied up and wasted. You're using your ammo. You might be pulling other people towards you to back you up. And it could just be something as simple as everybody just picking a target and shooting at it.
Right.
Like, everybody has seen it, where you get into a firefight and people get down behind cover and they pop up and take like a couple shots here.
Because they feel comfortable.
And nobody wants to get up and just go for it.
Right.
Like, some people in Airsoft will run away if you charge at them.
Oh yeah.
Like as soon as you just bluff them out of the firefight, they'll retreat. They'll go away. Or you'll catch them off guard enough where you can actually just overpower them. Like, if somebody takes a shot at you and then gets down behind cover, and as soon as they get down behind cover,
come right at them.
you're up and on them.
Oh yeah, I do that so frequently. It's such a
Like,
it's just
you
a
can-
power move. And
You can clear, 50 feet in just a couple of seconds.
Exactly.
It's amazing the distance you clear when you can haul ass. And so if everybody just takes the moment to, everybody agrees, okay, we're doing this right now. This is it, all or nothing. We either win or we die.
Right.
Right. If you're
sit literally
there,
pretty advanced, getting picked off one by one.
Right. Either you sit there long enough where you all get picked off one at a time, or you just cut your losses, save everybody at a time, all get shot, and then regroup. And
right.
It's almost infinitely more wise to just hurry up and get shot, regroup, hit it again.
It's more fun.
Yeah, exactly.
It's literally way more fun than getting, I got, some guy flipped
getting shot all the time is...
But you know what I'm saying.
Old. Yeah.
But I find way more objectives are accomplished using violence. And that's one thing Tan's pretty good at.
And also just rolling in gangs.
Yeah, they're like, well, there's 20 guys holding that objective. We'll show up with 120.
That's
but it works.
Yeah, that's basic tactics.
Yeah,
so
it works.
If you're attacking a static defended position, you need to be at like a 3-to-1 ratio.
Right.
Because in a squared up slugfest, 1-to-1, you guys are going to take each other out.
Right.
2-to-1, you stand the chance of losing the upper hand if you just slack a little bit. But 3-to-1, you can just keep throwing guys out.
And one more real point on why to use the violence of action is, say you're taking a base, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a 1-to-1 force engagement. So you're already at the disadvantage as the attacker in a 1-to-1 situation. Mm-hmm. And if you use the slow, methodical approach, you might win. But chances are half your guys will have been bled out by the time you get in the base. So you'll be sitting there like, okay, time to defend it with our 4 players. Mm-hmm. And everyone else is just sitting there bled out, waiting for you to die so they can go back to respawn. And they're assets that are once again wasted. Mm-hmm. You use violence of action approach. Either A, you die, okay, come back. Now at a minimum, you've whittled down those forces in the defending position. Go, respawn quick, come back, hit them again, and you'll probably take them the second time through. If you do get it and say, okay, you lost a couple guys in that violence of action, you've done it so quickly, they're probably not bled out. You can probably, the defending squad leaves.
You can triage all your
you medic all your guys, and you have to remember, guys, this isn't real war. If a guy's shot and you're quick enough, you bring him back to life for sure.
Right.
Use the fact we're playing Airsoft to your advantage here, and dying is not dying.
Right, exactly. That's the appeal of it, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And, you would take something quickly, you can probably get back to full force minus a few medic bans super fast, and now you can sit there and hold that base realistically.
How about this? Have you ever done this where you're in a large force engagement against like a static location, like the POW camp at UBG, where there's walls and stuff like that, and there's just some places where people in the building can't get an angle to shoot at you, but you have to clear all this open ground, where you just get up and get to that wall.
Yes.
And as soon as you do that, as soon as you can prove to the other players that you can get here, like
everyone else
we're clear
follow
here,
you.
they'll follow you.
Yeah.
They're like, wow, he got the. When I was commanding and I would lead from the front, this was like in the early days back when I was a friggin' lunatic, I would be at the front of my own engagements just to get up and prove to the people behind me that you can get here. Yep. I'm here right now, and if I'm here and you're behind me, then you are wrong. Like, get at the front of me. It's like push the fight, keep going, and go until you can't go. Right,
and a perfect building on that. So many times I see people castle at UBG. Perfect example. If you're approaching from the left side of town, or the parking lot side of town, trying to hit castle, because generally if you're coming from that spawn, you go to the left side of town and you cross the castle. It's just like the way you do it. You have those 3 or 4 windows looking at you, and I'll see 25 guys being held down from 4 windows, and all it takes is you get 4 to 6 guys, and you say, just blast rounds at those windows. Pick a window. Tell your other people what window you're picking. Like, I'll take top left, you take bottom right.
It doesn't even have to be anybody there. Just put shots.
Just put shots in that window, and you can move 10 people up to that wall completely unaffected, with almost no risk of fire.
Shoot.
And they just throw rounds at the window. Now you have 10 people on that wall that the people in the building can't engage. And you take castle in a minute or 2. and that's all it takes.
But that's kind of getting away from sneaky.
It is,
Yeah.
but it's just using the advantage. But
Right,
nonetheless,
exactly.
you're right. That's pulling away from sneaky tactics.
We've been talking briefly about like when to shoot versus when not to shoot, and when it's more productive to just not shoot. There was a situation where it was dark, so we've got the darkness advantage. There was about 8 of us, and this wasn't a recon team; it was just a squad. And
Yep.
we were out on a frago, and so I was at the front, and I was the only one with night vision, so I was obviously on point. And so I've got pretty much just a chain of guys behind me, like line of sight with each other, reach out and touch them. So we were walking through the woods to get to this location, and a firefight erupted around us. So we were able to identify 2 distinct factions, left side and right side, who were shooting at each other, but they weren't shooting at us.
Right.
And so for that moment, like, we made a conscious decision, okay, they still don't know we're here. We're not going to shoot at them. We're just going to push through this. And so we managed to actually, under cover of darkness, push through this firefight without managing to get hit, which was impressive.
Seriously.
And so we avoided that scrap. And so we go further up the trail. Now we're behind enemy lines, going to our objective. And we're just on, maybe it was a mistake to be directly on the trail, but it was quieter, it was dark, and it was faster. And we get up to the corner of one of these trails, and through my night vision, I can see somebody in a bunker guarding the trail, looking directly at us. But it's dark.
Right.
They've got no night vision, and even under night vision, you can't really identify camouflage all that well. So I see him seeing us, and you can tell when somebody can kind of see you because they go like
kind of
this.
spooked.
Yeah, they
like,
kind of like, they're shifty. They don't bring their gun up right away, and I just relayed it back to my squad. I said, "There's a guy right here. He's not on our team. He doesn't know what team we're on. Keep walking like you
own the
here."
place.
Like right, exactly. And I'll talk about that maneuver because we're familiar with
Yes.
that act like you own
Yes.
the place maneuver. But just keep going like you're going back to spawn or something like that. So we all 8
So
of
you
us.
put on your deadlights and then you just kind of walked at them, right?
No.
No, like
We'll murder anyone
exactly.
who does that.
Yeah, no, that is just unethical. But no, so we all just had our guns hung low, walked right past him, and I saw him just watching us in the shadows, and he just kind of like let us go, and then we ended up getting to our objective just fine. And if at any point along that road that we had decided to start shooting at people just for the sake of shooting, blown in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so sometimes your best bet is to just, suck it up and don't, like the point of the game is to shoot people. Just suck it up and don't shoot sometimes. Like,
Right.
like when we did Copper Green, there was a lot of situations where they said you shouldn't have to shoot. Like if you shoot in this mission, then something has gone wrong.
Right.
And we did missions with no shots fired.
Right. And they were still blasts.
Or at least we tried to.
The town where all of a sudden we're like, all right, we're good. Why is there some guy running?
Yeah, so I would definitely put that on like one of my top 5 sneaky boy tactics is knowing when not to shoot as opposed
and
to
there's almost more times to not shoot than there are to shoot.
Exactly, and some people just don't like that. They don't like I don't get to shoot anybody. Because some people use that as a metric for how successful they were at a game, was how many bodies
Oh,
they
it's
stacked.
useless.
Yeah, exactly.
I like looking, I was responsible for that objective. That makes me feel better than, I shot this dude.
I mean, if that's what you're after, then maybe you shouldn't be listening to this podcast about sneaking around. But if sneaking is something that you're into, maybe you measure success by how long you were out in the field and nobody even knew you were there.
Right. On that note of when not to shoot, we should briefly talk about building our advantage on when to shoot and kind of relating to that, knowing your enemy. I've mentioned this in a past podcast, but it's a big one, is knowing how, if you can identify the squad you're running into, or the squad you see, like, I know who those players are, I know how they'll react, or even that kind of comes with just playing Airsoft for a while. But we go to SO and AJ, and with who CO'd that team, we generally know how the team will respond to
knowing the playbook.
Exactly, kind of their playbook. One of my favorite things to do when playing Recon is you see a squad of tan guys, you figure out what your exfil group is, you engage a couple of them, and you leave. And they will spend the next hour clearing where you were, and you're not even there anymore.
Exactly.
And they have now put assets in a complete waste. And the best way, and you get into that situation a lot when you get into what my next point is obviously we say stay off the trails. But sometimes as much as it sucks, you just have to bushwhack.
Yeah.
It's
just to...
The number of times I've walked right around an enemy line because no one is willing to go be in that thick part of the woods. And you just walk right through the line. And once again, it's that kind of...
It sucks, but it has to be done.
sucks, but you gain such an advantage doing it. And like I said, there's been times I get behind the enemy line, I'm like, okay, there's a squad over there, and I'll throw a couple rounds that way and keep going.
Yeah, like, especially if you consider the mentality of a soft body at Airsofter who doesn't want to bushwhack, who doesn't like getting caught up in the brush. Like, the more it sucks for you, the less likely you are to run into just somebody who's going to cause problems for you.
If you can get 2 squads behind the front line of the enemy team, a lot of times, I mean...
You can fuck up their entire
Right,
day.
that's the thing, is you'll see people guns down, chat and walking along the trails to where they think their front line is, because they're like, we're safe.
Yeah.
And as 3 guys, we've wiped whole squads because they're unattentive.
So, not this past game, but I think there was another spring offensive game where I ran with you guys, where we took a mission. Actually, it might not have even been Reaper. It might have just been Fear Squad, where we bushwhacked to an objective, completed the objective, and that put us close to the village. And so we said, okay, we could walk all the way back, or we could do some damage. And what ended up happening was about 8 or 10 of us posted up inside of the village in the castle or various places like that, and we just caused a ruckus.
I remember you telling me about this, yeah.
We caused a ruckus, and so this goes back to knowing what the team is going to do. What does KOFOR do whenever they come up across a problem that's right in front of them?
They spend all their efforts.
They send hundreds of guys at it, platoons worth of guys.
Literally hundreds. It's
so
ridiculous.
10 of us were able to divert 3 platoons back to us. For what reason? Just because we felt like dicking around.
Right.
And so that's another thing, like using your... That's violence of action too.
Yeah.
Using your violence of action to bluff the enemy into thinking that you're going to be a bigger problem for them than you reasonably should be.
Right. And that is one of those perfect examples, especially if you're in that town and that kind of situation. If you're distracting heavily more assets than you represent, if you're one squad and
That's
there's
a productive use.
exactly,
of your time.
and there's a platoon devoted to taking out your one squad. That is one of those times. Feel free to hunker down and annoy the hell out of them for as long as you can.
Like, there's 2 different ways you can be used. You can be used to back up a squad that's in a one-sided firefight that's about to get annihilated, or you can go someplace else and divert the people that are backing up the team that's attacking them.
Right, exactly. And a really good CO will be able to send squads to do that. It's not necessarily, there's the reactive way of COing of, oh, there's an engagement there, send people there. There's an engagement there, send people there. And then there's the proactive way of doing it of, there's an engagement there, I'm going to send guys there because I bet you there's a hole in their front line. Because they've diverted all their, for example, like a number of times I saw TAN divert half their energy to oil, and you could walk right down the center of the field.
Right. Or going back to predicting somebody's playbook, if you've been out on the field, like say we were in the village or we're just off in the woods scoping things out, and you notice squad after squad after squad going back to respawn, but you're not seeing a lot of people coming out.
Right.
You got to think about, okay,
There's a lot of people
what's
there.
their next play?
Yeah.
So reacting to that before it happens, or just I don't know, just
Yeah. And speaking of sneaking and recon and stuff like that, that's where sometimes just being in a position where you can relay a lot of information and just staying quiet can be
their
really
recon
useful.
teams are really good at that.
Yeah, they are.
Very, very good at that. That bothers me.
Well, there was a time, they've always been good at it. There was a time back, again, when it was smaller games and used to CO, it was just the chaos of the matter. The information they were relaying usually wasn't that useful because things were so chaotic. There was no predicting what we were doing.
Exactly. That's why for a long time the main recon game at the Spring Offensive Autumn Justice Games was just going around flipping books, just signing time stamp and everything, and just gaining points for the team just by going around signing books. And now it's a little bit different, but it's the way it's always been.
Yeah. Now, were you here on a cast where we discussed the whole? We almost wish that camos went back to
PDU versus DCU.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you that every single time.
Yeah,
I just hate all the snowflake camos, but I also hate airsofters. So maybe don't take what I say at face value.
Right,
as far
but
as things that I don't like, because I don't like anything.
But do you have anything to add, James? You've been awfully quiet.
No.
Well, he can't talk because he doesn't have a voice.
Yeah, I'm just trying to reserve my voice so I can build the stamina.
Comments or anything like that?
No, nothing really new.
All right. Do we want to touch on the? I know this is kind of diverging from the stream a little bit, but we're about halfway through, or a little more. So, do we want to talk about the incidences of this past week and kind of how they can relate to common sense, what we discussed earlier? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
So, obviously, something once again very terrible happened this last week with the shooting in Florida. If you don't know what I'm talking about,
turn on a TV.
You turn on a TV, open your phone, something like that.
I didn't even know about it until about over 24 hours after it happened. Yeah, Facebook, hardcore was restricting all distribution for stories like that. Ironically, the first thing I saw about it was a video from inside one of the classrooms, and I'm just like, what? I'm like, what?
So obviously another terrible incident, someone else, we're not going to go into the politics of the matter, we're not interested in discussing politics here.
We're discussing how it affects us
right.
as people who are tactical in nature, I suppose.
Yeah, and into weapon-related activities.
Exactly.
So, like I said, obviously it's a terrible incident. I pray for the families, and I know everyone's like, thoughts and prayers don't mean anything.
I was about to say, yeah.
But at the end of the day,
your thoughts and prayers.
But at the end of the day, if I were in their shoes, I'd want at least people considering me, not just the politics of the matter. Politics aside, it's terrible. That's a horrible thing to deal with. But the world's a freaking scary place, and you have to consider, as airsofters, the impact that we make. We carry stuff that looks pretty darn scary.
Pretty darn scary, and we dress pretty darn scary,
right,
too.
Exactly. So, there's a lot of times, the Dunkin' Donuts on the Rotary and UBG. At this point, I'm sure they're used to it, the workers. But imagine, you're a civilian, your family coming in for your
let's say
Cape
you're
Cod
vacationing.
That's what I'm saying.
You're from New York or something where
everything's out banned and you don't see
or
it.
A pistol magazine gets you 7 years in federal prison.
Or a folding knife gets you in court summons.
Yeah, exactly.
So imagine you're this family coming up for your vacation in Cape Cod. You just came over the Bourne Bridge and you're like, it's been a long drive. Let's stop in Dunkin' Donuts. And you walk in there and there's a bunch of, these aren't
paramilitary
looking kids, and these aren't super professional, it looks like they just came from the military base dressed people. And they're, I've seen people wear vests to the Dunkin' Donuts, stuff like that, and it's just, if I didn't know what airsoft was, I'd probably call the police.
Right, yeah, no, it's very concerning. Like you said, if you don't look like you are in the military,
if you don't look like you belong,
if you don't look like you're somebody who's expected to wear that stuff.
And on the same token, this is not a justification for people to be like, I look super operator, therefore it's fine. No.
So, also another thing to consider, this is very specific to UBG. It's right next to a school.
Yeah.
You can see the school through the woods.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that the school is aware of it, but you're telling me that, we've been playing during football games and stuff like that.
Yeah, you hear the cheerleaders.
Frequently, we play during football games.
It's almost like all the time.
Yes.
And so consider that outside of the game, you're just in proximity to a school or, similar facilities and stuff like that. So the point that we're kind of driving at here is, and I've touched on this on my own Facebook page, which I don't expect anybody to be familiar with. You should be.
The Kurt Tap one?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's actually it's linked in the Facebook one, in the Facebook post for this.
Nice, cool. So I'll turn on monetization for that. I personally, this is me, as a player, I don't show up to a game dressed up and ready to
I'll
go.
go check on the refs. It's been a while.
I show up wearing street clothes, and then I
Yep.
change at the field.
He has to check on cleaning.
Yeah. I show up. I look like somebody who's exactly what I'm wearing right now, and like some people don't like to take their clothes off in front of the other people. I've got nothing on it, but
At a minimum, I actually do want to note on kind of what you're hitting there. I understand if you're like, okay, I'm going to show up in my camouflage, so I'm ready to game, and I'm going to stop at Dunkin'. Fine, don't show up in your full camo jacket. If you're wearing camo pants and instead you just throw a sweatshirt on, whatever you're wearing, there's plenty of people that wear camo pants. That's not going to scare anybody.
right.
But minimalize your threatening look.
Yeah, exactly. Or like I was saying, as soon as I get to the game, I'll change into the stuff because now I'm in context. During the game, I'll very frequently just take an order from my team and then go to McDonald's or something like that. And so I don't go into the McDonald's dressed like that. I'll go through the drive-thru and I'll take my vest off and everything. Anything that would make me look like I'm about to, just be a problem. And we've seen it before in the past where people will take team photos in the McDonald's in all of their gear.
It drives me crazy.
Look how operator I am. I'm in a McDonald's dressed like an operator. And it's like people who open.
It's
cabins.
dangerous to our hobby.
Right,
It
exactly.
really is.
And nowadays, especially with people being so sensitive to, young, shifty-looking kids dressed up in tactical gear, you might get into trouble with police or a concerned citizen or anything like that, up to the point of just being preemptively shot. That's an extreme.
Well, okay, let me actually make a really good example here. Is maybe someone's concerned enough they call the police, right? And you're getting in your car and you're about to leave, and the officer rolls up to your car, and you've got your airsoft pistol sitting in your passenger seat, your airsoft rifle sitting just behind you. If any of those guns are within hand's reach of anybody in that car, that officer is going to immediately be very uncomfortable.
Might even pull out his gun.
Right. Will likely pull out his gun.
I'd be surprised if he did.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he didn't. And if you're just driving down the highway and you get pulled over and you have an airsoft rifle in your passenger seat, they'll frequently confiscate it.
Yeah.
That's totally legal for them to do.
Yeah, it's in proper storage and
Right.
because as far as they know, it's a real
Right.
firearm.
And half of everyone's removed their orange tip.
Right, exactly. And if you don't keep your guns in weapon cases on the way to games, you should really invest in weapons cases.
At a minimum, it should be in a closed, inaccessible trunk if you don't have a weapons
Exactly.
case.
Use common sense.
Right.
And that's just because in this day and age, people are going to be calling a lot more for people who don't look like they belong.
Yeah.
And especially with like the heightened police mentality, like not to get too far into unjustified or not unjustified, just police shootings in general. Situations where once we have the picture, we realize that it was a gross miscalculation of like what should have happened, but
In the moment,
it's
it's so difficult. You have seconds.
Exactly.
They have seconds to make a decision. Now, I question this for anyone watching who might be saying, well, if I were a cop, I'd do better. How many times have you shot your own team members playing airsoft?
Oh, I shoot my team
Right.
members all the time.
Imagine that same thought process of if I don't shoot, I'll be killed, and apply it to a real life situation that an officer might see.
Right. And even so, I've been playing for like 15 years, I think just about. And even when I was starting to play there, at my original home field of Tolcom, one of the original fields in the Northeast, they had a class that you had to take in order to play at that field called Airsoft 1.0. And one chapter of the presentation was your interaction with law enforcement and how you should behave around them and things you can do to make sure that you don't get shot. And that includes putting yourself in their position and just imagining that they assume that you are not playing airsoft, that you are a threat. Stuff like that. Gun on the ground, hands up, no sudden movements. Don't point it at them and go, no, it's just an airsoft gun, you're dead.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways.
But, like I said, just exercise common sense. I see a lot of people, they're just toys, and they don't respect what they are, especially the newer players. To be honest,
Right.
A lot of the guys, me and Pat have been playing for you probably a little longer, you definitely longer than I have, but mean, I'm probably looking at like 8 or 9 years at this point. You're probably 10 or 11, 12.
I just said 15.
Oh, I missed that. Sorry, I was reading comments. I was calling you James. Either way, you know, a lot of the older guys you'll see approach this kind of differently, and I'm not saying, like, you know, we're better. No, it's just we've experienced and seen the stages of airsoft. When you started, I'm sure even more so than when I started, it was this thing no one did. And so when you said, you know, I play airsoft and I have this scary looking gun, people are like, the hell is that?
Yeah. You know how many people I tell I play airsoft now?
0.
None.
Exactly.
Nobody.
Exactly. But and now they'd actually know what you mean.
Yeah, exactly.
But for the newer players out there, really be considerate of what you have and the implications that may come with it. And that's really where we wanted to say. But you know, Pat was mentioning more so and more so, it's going to get to that point where when people are concerned, they're much more likely to report something. You know, just referring back to what started this conversation is, you know, we had all these people saying how this kid scared them. This kid raised concerns.
I was in fear of my life.
Right. Well, no, before any of it happened, this kid scared them, or this kid's concerned them, and no one reported it because everyone was like, but I don't want to be that person to report it. Well, when instances like this happen, people are a lot more likely to be willing to be that person to call the police because they genuinely feel like they're doing the right thing. So it's not to say, oh, people that report airsofters are terrible. No, I understand it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you just have to understand that people out in everyday life don't have the same context that you do. You know what's going on, but they don't. Like, very often, like when we were playing in Pennsylvania at the Concrete City, the locals knew that there was a military simulation going on, so that they knew not to be concerned about men dressed in full military.
That's a good idea, actually.
I actually had been speaking to somebody through Tinder who said, "Oh, you mean that like I mentioned that I was at the Concrete City."
Yeah.
I didn't even mention airsoft, and she goes, "Oh, are you doing the military simulation that's there?" So it was addressed beforehand, and they had that context.
That's actually a really good idea.
It is a good idea.
I think a lot more event runners that hit up facilities like for the first time should really try and advertise them.
And Crossfire is especially conscientious of sensitive areas like that. Like the other game that we had in Pennsylvania, in the Poconos, the Penn Hills Resort.
Oh yes.
There was an incident of like an officer-involved shooting. 2 state troopers were shot by a man with a gun.
Oh damn!
And that was just a couple of years prior to us being there. So the residents were super vigilant, looking for people who didn't belong, who were heavily armed and everything like that. And so I think he actually addressed that with the township beforehand, so that they could be aware of that.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that. That's the kind of public interaction we definitely need to keep this hobby safe and people in general safe. But returning back to our topic, we felt the need to address that today, especially with this week's incidences. So, but returning back to the topic, especially now James is back.
Yay!
I've returned.
Right. So, actually, in terms, we mentioned at the beginning of the stream, I feel like, do you have anything more to add before I change subjects about Sneaky
not
Boys?
looking like a tool bag
No.
inside the game?
Well, that, but also more the main topic, the Sneaky Boys topic. Do you have anything more to add in terms of maintaining your advantage?
Yeah, hold the fuck still. Just don't move.
That is a huge one, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, the big thing that draws people attention, and you actually talked about this before, if you're in cover and you're hiding from somebody, don't be looking at that somebody, because we've got these 2 big, giant, reflective pieces of plastic on our faces, and it draws the attention, like just the unnatural shape. If you're really hiding from somebody, if you put your head down and just don't move, chances are they won't even
Well,
see it.
I see you do that, and I never even thought of it until you did it, and I was like, Pat's a genius, I'm an idiot. Is that if you're letting someone pass by without shooting you, I see you put your head down and cover your face, and it's just such a good idea.
Yeah.
And
But you also put up your hood too.
Yeah, it's a great idea, because like you said, those lenses just attract attention like nothing else. Especially if you're unfortunate enough that they're passing between you and the sun, because that's just going to reflect
Exactly.
light so badly.
Also, just the sixth sense feeling of somebody watching you,
Yeah.
which is a real thing.
Yeah, no.
I don't know, maybe.
I don't disagree. There's definitely 10 times I've gone through the woods, so I'm like, there's someone here. I just know it. I haven't heard anything.
Something's fucking
I haven't heard anything. I haven't seen anything, but you know you're about to be
Someone
ambushed.
new. Yeah.
Like, I know I say this all the time, but I got a bad feeling about this one. You say that enough,
Oh, yeah,
eventually something
right.
bad's
You're
gonna
gonna be right
happen.
at some point.
Yeah. Right clock, or a dead clock is right twice a day.
Yeah, right. So what was I gonna say? Actually, hitting back on a topic that we said we should address at the end of the stream, I think would be a good time, is tactics-wise, one of your top few, what do you call it, pet peeves?
Pet peeves. Bunching up, definitely.
Yeah.
People hanging out in groups, like especially, so like several different types of bunching up. Bunching up on patrol where you're all standing in a straight line, less than 3 feet between you because you're afraid of being alone. You know, like everybody just
Right.
wants to hunker
James,
in
how much
for-
of a Nazi was I about spacing?
Yeah. A little bit.
Especially because all the time when I was commanding, I would see squads bunch up, and then there's just one well-placed saw gunner out the trailhead who just goes.
Yep.
Entire squad is gone, immediately gone.
Yep.
There's bunching up after you've just completed an objective. Like if a
yes.
squad takes a building.
They all go
And-
in the building.
Yeah, they all go into the building, and then they all rally up in one room and just sit around, you know, jerking each other off about how awesome it was that they just took the building. And meanwhile, the squad the building that you were attacking, the reinforcements they called in are just coming down
And surrounding.
and surrounding you, clearing back in. You're not ready, and now you're all dead.
Yep.
Instead of just immediately putting up a 360.
I've seen that happen
Yeah,
more
nobody-
times than I can count.
Yeah, everybody loves the shooting. Nobody likes the parts in between, like the setting up security and keeping an eye out and everything. They just want to shoot and then talk about how awesome they were shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, what other types of bunching up are there? I think that goes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd say the biggest two for me are when you call for a 360, like if you're the one signing a sheet, something like that, you call for a 360 and you see everyone spread out and then look at you.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, no, look out.
Exactly.
Kind of adding to what you're saying, but it's like you said, it's doing that 360 security. But that's just more adding to what you're saying. The two real big ones for me though are people staying on the trails and refusing to get off the damn trails.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest one, and God, I hate this. People do random chatter, random conversations when you're in an active zone.
Mm-hmm.
Just talking to people.
Oh yeah, yucking it up with your bros.
Yeah, yucking.
I actually mentioned that on the podcast one time. Was when we were signing a sheet, taking an objective, and I heard the sound of footsteps coming towards us, and I immediately knew it wasn't our team
right.
because they weren't talking.
Yes.
I said, that's definitely Code 4. They're not talking at all.
Yep.
If it was Group 4, they would have been
Chatting.
But
Yeah, I mean, there's been times I've had to go to, like, when we end up rolling with a squad as recon, there's times I just go, guys, shut the F up. Go force 100 feet that way.
yeah.
That one drives me insane. Now, if you're talking, hey, should we, if you're talking tactics, still not ideal, but at least it's relevant.
Right.
If you're talking about what you're gonna eat for dinner after this, like, shut up.
Yeah.
That one kills me. What about you, James?
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely an annoyance. Trying to think of something that really pisses me off.
Really grinds your gears?
Yeah, it really grinds
Everything,
my
because
gears.
you have a Sistema.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, get on my planetary gear system, bro. It's not very. It really doesn't piss me off. It's just more like, is this really a good time for this? Whenever I'm rolling with the guys from Durka, they're always packing some loud, as you would say, and they're always for lack of a better phrase, lighten it up. like en route to an objective, and I'm just like, this really a good time for that? Like, this really
Are you talking about what I think we're
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah.
like, is this really what you guys want to be doing like right now? And they're like, yeah, man, it gets me in the zone. Like, I love doing this. I'm like, word. Like, sick, bro. So that's not an annoyance. It's just more like one of those things, you're just like, if it works for you and you're a better shooter because of that, like, go for it. But I mean, I think a few of them are prescribed it. I'm not gonna acknowledge it, but it's definitely one of those things where you're just like,
Is this the time?
is this the time?
Like when you're out on patrol and you see a couple of empty nips of Fireball on the trail.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
Come on, man. Is
this really so intense
Yeah.
that
I guess that's delving more into people's serious debilitating alcoholism than it is airsoft, but
well, actually, that does remind me on a further note, something that absolutely drives me insane is the hour-long hangout sessions in Spawn.
That's fun. Those are always fun.
yeah.
When I'm just like,
like
all right,
those.
guys, like, let's go do something.
It's pretty much just bunching up, but you're dead. 'Cause you
Yeah,
bunched up.
yeah, exactly.
And it's
Yeah.
people. So I just because I myself like to hang around and do nothing for long periods of time, but knowing that going back to Spawn, I'm not going to take off my gear. As soon as you take your plate carrier off, you're telling your
Everyone around
commander-
you.
You're telling everyone around you, your commander, everybody, that I am going to be at least 10, 15
Right.
minutes. But if you come in, you leave all your gear on, and you just load your mags, you're back out the door and ready
Right.
to fight. Unless like.
Now, don't get me wrong. If you've done like if you've been out there for
If
3
you
or
put
4
in
hours,
some serious work, if you
Yeah.
think you've earned it,
and you're like, okay, dinner break.
yeah,
But don't take an hour and a half dinner break either. Take, 30, 45 minutes maximum.
when I used to command, I would go the entire event, and at the end of it, I'd be like, oh shit, I haven't eaten all day.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
But
Well, it was also, like, once again, it was different during those, like, 80-person games in a way because, like, the field was huge. It was very sparsely populated. So a lot of times half the game was looking for a firefight.
right, exactly. Yeah, no, I mean, just get back out there. It's,
Yeah. I remember there were times during Feel Good Farm games when me and I think it was Whale at the time and a few other guys, we'd just be strolling around and all of a sudden we'd be like, oh, hi, Pat. You just like pop out from behind a tree like, oh, hey.
That was back when the commanders could move around by
Yeah.
themselves, and so I'd kind of use that to my advantage, and
Get shit done.
use the clusterfuck on the field to cover up my individual actions until I ran into large amounts of tan, and then it's face down in the dirt,
Yeah.
hood on my head,
Yep.
don't move at all.
Actually, on that note, before we move on to the closing announcements, the big one of walking like you own it. Day or night? I know you said you wanted to hit on that further.
Well, I've done it both times. So
Yeah.
there was the story that I told walking around like you own the place at night, and that's just to convince somebody who
Yeah.
can't properly identify you that you belong there, because that's the other thing. If you see somebody sneaking, you're going to shoot them.
Oh, yeah.
So like if one of your like somebody on your team is sneaking like behind your lines, like you're on your lines and you see somebody sneaking and you shoot him and it turns out to be your teammate, like
What are you
dude,
doing?
Yeah, like don't get mad at me because I'm looking for sneaky people.
Right. Right.
So at night, if you're behind enemy lines, maybe don't sneak so hard because they're looking for people.
It's like a
who-
gamble.
Right.
It's a huge gamble.
Either you're gonna get shot or you're not gonna get shot,
Right.
but at least like if you make it look like you're supposed to belong, and because guaranteed they're looking for people who are sneaking.
It's
Slow
the
footsteps.
classic, like, the Family Guy thing. They're not looking for the guy in the clown suit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, hunched over people like this who are taking steps like that and everything. That's just the body language of somebody who doesn't belong there.
Right.
More so during the day, though. And this isn't easy with games that have actual factions with camouflage requirements. Like back when I started playing, everybody wore BDUs, and that was it. And you had colored tape on one of your arms. So one thing that I did is if the tape was on my right arm, I would go all the way to the right side of the field and walk straight back so that so the border is right here. And
Anybody that saw you.
anybody who saw me saw my left side, not the tape side. And then they would just be like, oh, hey, it's a guy walking to the back. And then I'd get behind them and I would just work my way forward.
Unconventional tactics.
Unconventional tactics or
Assault tactics.
yeah, or just walking around like you're not a threat to anybody, weapons slung. I've walked into the other team's base that way while they're fighting out, and unfortunately for the first person who turns around, they start
Person questions you.
I remember a while ago I walked in and everybody's shooting out, and one person turned around like this, and they still had their gun out, and they go, "Safety kill?" Question. I'm like, no, swap, 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 swap. Just like shoot the first person who gets wise, and then just
and then go from there.
But yeah.
Actually, that does bring me a good point. One more to hit is opinion on what's the best way to put this. If saltiness is justified when someone is killed or fooled by unorthodox tactics. Like the things what we had discussed as possible things to do during recon.
I'm kind of drawing a blank just off of like what you're referencing. But
Like the gun and the lights and things like that. Like if people get salty that you were implementing more than a gunfight.
If you outfox somebody, like if you put up like a camouflage dummy out in the woods and they attack that and you shoot them for shooting that,
right?
And then they get upset, like people get upset if you outthink them.
Yeah.
But honestly, the salt drives me.
I know it does, Pat. Oh, I know it does.
Like
you drinking the tears of your enemies, like just lathering yourself in it.
Yeah, like the more upset somebody gets that you just got them, like it's just so gratifying because they know that they just got so bad. But if you're doing shitty shit,
I guess the best question is, where's the line between being a shithead and being tactical?
Okay. Hiding in a group of dead players with the red rags out.
I completely agree.
Shitty.
Yes, that is cross the line.
Walking 20 feet behind a group of dead players on their way back to respawn. Maybe
on
not.
The line.
That's what I'm saying. So you're not part of their group.
Right.
But
you're still kind of using them as cover.
You're not
using them as distraction.
If the other team is like, oh, okay, there's wounded players walking by, and then they walk by, and then you walk by behind them. You're not part of the group, but they just assume that you were.
Right.
Like going off people's assumptions.
Yeah. What would you? Anything to add, James? On what's maybe a little bit over the line, what's not over the line?
I mean, it's always kind of been like super lame when you just see guys who are way out of any effective airsoft guns range, and they're just like walking from cover to cover. And you're just like, I know
very
that's not
unrelated.
Yeah, I know, but like that's you want to talk about being just like a straight asshole.
No, I love doing that.
You love doing that?
I love doing that.
I
totally
love it when
doing
people
that.
are shooting at me and their rounds are just coming up short.
100 feet short.
Or like if somebody gets the drop on me and starts dry firing, like I don't immediately shoot them. I hold like here's the thing. Have you ever had somebody get the drop on you who just didn't get you, and like you end up holding still because you know that they should have got you, and you're like, okay, I mean, you should be getting me.
Absolutely.
I acknowledge that you should be getting me right now.
But you didn't.
But you're not. So do it, or I'm going to shoot you.
Right. I've been in that situation. I've been at the other side of that situation. I've told this story before. It was at this last game. I love my HK-45, but the one issue with it is when I grab it, I'm very good at just nudging the selector to safety, just enough that it doesn't. I can't feel it in the trigger. The hammer still drops, but the gun doesn't fire.
Right.
That has two safeties. One, in the full flip, the safety stops the trigger and blocks the hammer. You only put it on a little bit, it blocks the hammer, doesn't stop the trigger.
Right.
So I had somebody not twice as far as me to James, and I'm like, all right, I had 100-foot engagement range. And I go, and I hear as the hammer drops, and he heard just the tick, and he looks at me like, and there's like a solid 5 seconds where he's like, and I'm like, And he pulls out the gun and shoots me. I'm like, shit.
That's the thing too. Like some people get upset if they drop a hammer on you and nothing comes out, and they go, "Duh, I had you dead to rights." Yeah, but you didn't shoot.
Right.
And
No, that's the thing is
like
he got me, and I was like, damn it, me.
Yeah.
Not you suck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, there's some super pure saints out there who will take that kind of kill from somebody like, oh, I know you could have had me if you had ammo in your gun, so I'm just gonna call myself out, and I'm just not that dude. Like,
No,
shoot me,
I'm with
fucking
you.
shoot me.
Right.
Especially if somebody calls a safety kill on you and you choose not to accept it. Like, okay, that's going back to our topic,
so
things that make people salty. If somebody comes up on you and says safety kill, and you're able to get a shot on that, like, so they just did a gentleman move and offered not to shoot you because it sucks to get shot that close, and you turn around and shoot them instead. That's kind of underhanded, but if it's not specifically addressed in the rules, then there's nothing wrong with it.
I would argue there's a line there. Is I've had people where I go safety kill, I hold it for a solid like second and a half to be like, you know, I got you, you're definitely dead.
Yeah.
And then I go to move to like the next motion, and then they pull out the pistol and shoot me, and it's kind of like, okay, at that point, like I gave you 100% time to acknowledge it, accept it, and I'm moving. It's not like I swung past you and said it. You know what I mean? Like, yes, technically you did illegally shoot me there, but I think at that point you're just being an asshole, because like next time I'm just going to shoot you in the face.
And then you just decide not to get to that level. It's like, all right, I'm not.
Right, at that point, that's what I'm saying. At that point, I'll be like,
if
fine,
something
I'll
like
do it.
that happened to me, I would call myself out because I'm about to lose my shit.
Exactly. And I've had that happen to me, and I'm just like, next time you get shot point blank in the face.
You know what? Sometimes on rare days when I am feeling courteous, and also when I call a safety kill on somebody, it's not usually my gun's pointed at their chest. It's pointed right at their.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Just force of habit, I guess.
Yeah.
So when I'm saying safety kill and they're looking directly down the barrel, it's kind of persuasive. But I say like safety kill, all right, and they have to verbally acknowledge it to me.
Which I should do. I'm used to the issues. I play a lot, obviously.
Well,
here.
if you're playing very fast paced, sometimes you
Exactly.
don't. But if you're playing so fast paced that you don't have time to confirm that, maybe you should just shoot them anyways.
So, and that's the thing is, it's funny because if I'm going for a safety kill, like you said, I go to the face, like to scare you into being like, okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I always aim point of mass, center point of mass. So that's the issue. So a lot of times I do that, and I like before I feel comfortable to shoot them, I have to go down. But either way, that's just personal.
Okay, here's a story from back in the day that some old people who definitely aren't watching this podcast would remember.
Okay.
We were playing. This is going back to sly, underhanded tactics.
Mm-hmm.
We had just had an engagement with the other team, and we're pushing past them, and they're wounded. We're sitting on the trail, bleeding out. And so as we're walking, I stopped to shoot the shit with a couple of them. So the bleed out time was 5 minutes, and we sat there for 8 minutes talking to them.
Okay.
And so at one point, I said to them, "So when are you bleeding out? When are you getting out of here?" And at that point, one of them got this deer in the headlights look on his face and pulled out his gun for three or five of us, and goes, "Safety kill, safety kill, safety kill, safety kill," like that. And I pulled out my gun and I said, "No." And he's like, "Okay, fine." But afterwards, some people were saying, "Well, he could have shot you and he chose not to." And I said, "Yeah, but you can't safety kill 4 people at one time."
Right. That's always a
like his gun wasn't pointed at me anymore.
Right.
And it's kind of going back to what you're saying. Like you go safety kill and then you move on, and then they shoot you afterwards.
Right. There's always such a gray area with it.
Right.
That's the hard part.
That pissed off a lot of
Just
people
shoot
at the
'em.
time.
Just shoot the person.
Shoot
Like,
me, yeah.
I
there is
rarely
times-
will safety kill someone.
There is times where being able to quietly take someone out without your gun going off is a huge advantage.
Yeah. I usually just like to touch their neck with my hand.
Well,
I'm
so
like,
I-
you're dead.
I'll
I say you're dead.
Yeah, I'll frequently.
There are some super keyed up airsofters who'd
Well,
be like, "Whoa, bro," and they'd go.
What I do a lot of times, I'll grab someone's upper forearm and do that. I'll be like, "You're dead," and move on to the next
Yeah,
person.
like I like to do shoulder, like
Right.
if you're about to clear a room and you put your hand on somebody's shoulder,
Yeah.
like that's like not a very aggressive move to an airsoft.
Yeah, I don't like karate chop them. I'll just be
Right.
like,
But anyway, it's just like
Kinda
a lot of
just
times the
like, you know,
physical
like-
contact at that point, they're like, I've not physically contacted someone like that and had them not take the hit. Usually at that point, they're like, "Yeah, okay, you had me dead to rights, no questions
Right.
asked." There was one point I was clearing castle, and it was one of those. Basically the dude's gun was right here, and I'm standing right here. And I'm like, okay, like how do I get this guy out without getting shot to point blank? And at one point, I heard the dry fire, and I went, all right. Went around the corner and grabbed his arm. Went, yeah, you're dead. And he's like, okay.
Okay, here's another gray area: grabbing somebody's gun.
No.
Definitely not.
Definitely
No,
not.
just don't do it.
So, like, for example, one time when I was playing in an indoor field and I was going around a corner, the gun barrel was around the other side of the wall, and I wanted to get to where that guy was, so I had my pistol out, right? And so as I'm clearing the corner, like I'm moving, and I pushed his barrel out of the way and shot him like that.
So that's different than grabbing.
Like I'm
his
not
gun.
pulling his gun from him. I'm redirecting it away.
I wouldn't grab it. I mean, a little push I can, but that's still, and to me that's still gray. Like you said, I'd have to see the situation, and that's always hard for me. I prefer to, like I said, I went in and grabbed his arm to say physical contact with you.
And then some people would say that physical contact with other players isn't.
Right, but then that's why I always, like I said, that's why I go for arms. Generally, people, if you're like this, they're like, okay, but I won't like grab, it's one of those things, just human condition. This usually isn't threatening, but if I did neck, torso, something like that, generally people find that a more threatening move because it's more core. So yeah, I think, a gentle touch to the arm is not a threatening posture, but more than that, a grab, like a real
like
grab,
trying to disarm somebody
is no,
hard
no.
But
Like pushing their. I mean, there is times again if I'm going to go into a building like that. I know I've done similar to what you're saying, where it's kind of like, you have them dead, and you don't want them to, like, startle shoot you. So sometimes you said you just kind of divert their barrel a little bit as you go into it to be like, don't shoot me.
yeah, just push it up here.
Yeah. What do you think, James? What's your opinion there?
Well, with like grabbing people and stuff like that.
Do you
like,
just not listen?
No, I'm just trying to clarify.
Manipulating other people's guns.
Yes,
What?
like pushing someone's.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like, no, I just
That's not
don't
grabbing.
touch their guns. No, just don't.
So
do
you're
it.
saying, if someone has a gun coming around the corner and you're standing right here, is what we're saying is simply just a push the barrel out of the way before
No,
you
I'll
aim
turn
your
the
gun
corner
at
and
them.
shoot them.
Okay, but now your face is in their barrel.
Right.
No, if I can see their barrel, I'm just gonna go under and shoot them. It's not that's
Okay,
not
yeah,
so
sure,
hard.
Well, we know you're perfect.
I'm just saying, like, I don't play those games. I just shoot people. Like, I don't.
James doesn't safety kill. He has no respect for other players. That's right.
I apologize, I guess. I mean, if I come up behind you, I'm not gonna shoot you. Like I said, I'll touch you on the shoulder or something like that. But other than that, if I'm facing you, you're gonna get a BB to the chest. I try not to aim for the face and stuff like that. I know the Durka mentality is shoot people in the mouth, but like if I'm really
just throwing your team's name out there for that shit.
what? I mean,
He's
that's
a true
like
Durka
what they
player.
say all the time. Is like, yeah, we're gonna shoot some people in the mouth, and I'm all for that. But if I'm like super close, I'm not gonna try to shoot you in the mouth.
Yeah, I mean, at one point, it just becomes a lot more work to point your gun up like that.
Yeah,
you can
it's,
just as easily.
that's what I'm saying.
But yeah, like if your head's all that's exposed.
Yeah.
Shot.
Oh
You're
yeah.
getting shot.
People are like, don't aim for heads. Half the time the head's the only thing you see. I'm gonna aim for your head. Sorry. I'll aim for center of visual mass. If the only visual mass is your head, I'm aiming for the center of your head.
Airsoft pet peeve. Rewinding it back a little bit.
Yep.
People who throw a fit about getting shot in the face.
Oh my god.
Like people,
It happens.
People
Calm down.
who get teeth shot out and they get upset at the person who shot them.
like, why
People
weren't
who
you
get
wearing-
shot in the face and they're like, "Duh, I'm bleeding out of my face." Fuck,
Yeah.
They make masks, and if you choose not to wear one, then that's
See, that actually brings up a good correlation between both. We had it was me and, God, I am totally blanking on his name. He doesn't play too frequently, but he plays with the Odin Spear guys. What's his name? He got shot by Cowboy.
Oh, I forget.
Anyways.
God's gonna kill me. I'll bring it up later. Either way, is he went up to Cowboy and I watched him go safety, and he held it for a solid like 2 seconds. And this kid had a saw and just went right up his body. He had shot right up his face. All of which were bleeding because there was a saw this close to his face.
Right.
And that was so effed up.
Yeah, that is kind of the other side of the coin there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry, if someone did that to me, I'd be like, "You're coming with me."
Why?
Like,
He shot
what?
you in the face.
No, not
He was
like, no.
He was close to you.
No, saws
and he
have
shot
minimum
you in the
engagement.
face.
No, saws have minimum engagement distance.
That is
That is
true. That is
an
true.
absolutely different.
It's a newer
scenario.
rule, to be fair, but yes.
It's an absolutely different scenario, and I would be like, "We're gonna go to spawn, and you're gonna pack up your shit, and we're gonna go find a game, a game facilitator." I would not put up with that. That's just like
What if
trying
someone?
to hurt someone.
What if you did safety someone and they just shot you in the face, single shot?
I mean, I guess I'd be pretty pissed, but I'm sitting here saying I'm doing the same thing, so I'd be like, all right, fuck you. But then again,
Then again, you do the same.
Then again,
shit.
I probably would have done the same thing. So
Getting shot in the face sucks, but
It does.
It can
does.
suck less.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever looked at your mask and seen like
The
BB
marks, and
in
you're
front of
like,
your
thank
mouth?
God.
You're like, well, that's at least several times I
Yeah.
could have been shot in the mouth.
Like I said, I have a fake
Yeah.
tooth from Airsoft, so.
Jesse said this is why he comes home with a bloody face all the time.
Mhm.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
It happens.
All right, but I think with that, it's time for wrap-up announcement. So, do you want to talk about membership some, James?
Yeah, memberships are lit. You should definitely get one. Go to
Maybe a
Extreme
little bit
Airsoft
more details
RI.
on
Well,
that.
I wasn't done yet. Go to extremeairsoft.ri/membership, and we have a ton of different options. The best option by far is the EFT membership. It's $60 a month. It's all done through PayPal's secure servers. So you don't need to worry about your credit card information getting stolen or anything crazy like that. There is a $35 activation fee associated with that, but you get a ton of benefits with the EFT membership that I'm going to go over real quick. You get unlimited normal gaming entry. You also get a rules video pass, and you have to watch it once a week. Free
Hopefully
event.
once a month in the future.
Yeah, hopefully once a month. You get free event entry as well as a guest pass, which means that you get to bring one friend who's never been here once a month. Yeah, so if they don't have a waiver on file, they can play for free. They get a rental, the whole shebang. That's by far the best deal. We also have a few other deals like 3 to 12 month memberships, get a few other goodies, and then so on and so forth. So if you go to the web page that we have displayed right here, that would be that's everything that you need. It's very simple, very easy to do. We can usually have your membership up and running in about I'd say 10 minutes. We've had people pull out their phones. You can do it right on your phone as well. And by the time you get that going, you're good to go.
Let me ask you this: they come in, they paid for regular admission, they absolutely love it, and they want to get a membership.
I discount it from their activation fee.
There you go. And
Very
then
reasonable.
what?
Very reasonable.
Right. So and then finally, our the expo.
Yes, that is going to be April 8th this year. It's going to be on a Sunday. We're I'm very much so looking forward to this one. Should be a really good time. We have a lot of space to use, a lot of open floor space. If you are on a team and you want to exhibit your stuff, you get a 10x10 booth. Electric is provided to everyone that gets a booth.
But bring extension cords.
Yeah, definitely bring your own extension cords. We only have so many hundreds of them.
Extension cords.
But yeah, and if you want to sell stuff like team apparel, because that's like actually a thing now. You got like your whole like shirts and patches. People sell them and all that cool stuff. You'd be surprised if a good many teams do that. So if you want to do that, I know a few others hosted raffles for small things. Don't raffle off guns to anyone under 18. That was an issue we had last year. But if you're just looking for a team or you want to show up, walk-ons are absolutely free. We will be running normal gaming
Are we
that day
still?
as well.
If a team wants to set up a booth, they still get a discount to a game for the day.
I believe
Done
so.
that in
I
past
think.
years.
Yeah, I think like whoever booked it gets like $15 admission or something like that. They get like discounted $10, something like that. I'll have to look into exactly what we did last year. I can't exactly recall, but yeah, it would definitely be something like that.
Awesome. Cool. All right, guys, and thank you very much for joining us this week. Next week we'll have another stream coming at you. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I certainly did. It's a little bit of a late stream today. I do apologize for that. Obviously, with it being a holiday and February vacation, we had gaming till about 7:30. So took a little longer to get online today, but we'll be back to a regular time tomorrow, next week. And hopefully we'll see you guys here soon. And you can see us next week. So thank you Thank you very much, guys. See you soon. Have a good week.
Have a nice night. Thanks, guys.
Bye.